Yeah, I feel like with this being the first one, the intros can definitely... We just got our intro. That's it. That's our intro. Yeah. So this being the first one, I feel like we'll figure out the intro as it goes along. But yeah, we're gonna do a little bit of a reflection on SEMA and some other, conversation tidbits and all that kind of stuff. So I guess we'll just kind of jump right into it.
Let's kick it off.
I'm Curtis. I'm the growth marketing manager at ExoShield. This is Jesse. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Jesse. I'm the director of marketing here at ExoShield. Been here for about almost 6 years now, and honestly, just really stoked to sit down with Curtis and chat about SEMA 2025.
Absolutely. Now, SEMA just wrapped like a couple weeks ago.
Just got
not
back.
Even like a week ago.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard to tell time after you've been away in Vegas for a full week, but it's almost been a week since we've been back now.
Yeah. Just like a quick overview as far as like what SEMA actually is for the people that are watching that are kind of just getting into it. Could you give an overview as far as like what it is?
It's a lot. SEMA is a lot. It's the largest automotive like aftermarket show from what I understand, the world.
Right.
It's held in Las Vegas every year. It's somewhere for manufacturers and buyers and industry experts to kind of come in, see what's next up in technology for the next year, what kind of products are being released by manufacturers, and then getting a lay of the land for like what they want their business to look like in the next year. So right now for us, it's 2026.
Nice. Awesome. I guess we'll just kind of jump into the first question. So leading up to it, you were excited about stuff at SEMA 2025, and we have a whole other blog wrapping up that content as well. But when you actually got there, what were you excited about with what you heard and what they were saying about ExoShield's product?
Sure, yeah. So there's a bunch of excitement around the show in general. I think what I'm most excited for being on the marketing side is sometimes very different than maybe what the sales guys are most excited for. For me, outside of all the ExoShield stuff that we have going on, I'm most excited to go down because we're a Canadian company. I get to see a lot of the people that we've been interacting with on socials, the people that we've just kind of been back and forth with, watching their builds kind of from afar. And I love getting out there with these guys and gals and getting to see all of the hard work that they've put into these builds actually being realized at a show like SEMA, which is a bucket list opportunity for so many people in the automotive industry.
Right.
For me to kind of, have over the last 5.5 years, got to know these people, heard their dreams of bringing a car to SEMA, and then watching that realized over the few years, like that's what I get most excited for, outside of obviously talking about ExoShield and what we have going on.
Right. No, that's awesome. I mean, like there is a bunch of human connections there and like people that are extremely passionate about, the automotive industry and like leaving their mark on it. So
you hear a lot of people after they've gone to SEMA a few times say like the show is more about the people than the products. And to be completely honest, like that is the truth, right? Like I think at that show you get to interface with businesses that you're buying from, and you get to learn kind of like who the humans are behind these products. And you get to make decisions based around not just like how the product performs, how your market is taken to it, but also like who are you supporting when you're choosing, to partner with a manufacturer like ExoShield, right? What is like the ethos of the people that are actually behind the scenes? What do they care about? How are they maybe mirroring or amplifying the voice that you want to represent in your local community, and making sure that again you're betting on the right horse.
Right. No, that makes sense. And I mean, talking about like getting your voice out there, having conversations on the floor, what kind of conversations were the most meaningful and insightful for you to connect with that you saw?
So kind of again, like if you were to ask a sales guy, it's probably more about like, oh, I had these cool conversations that are going to lead to like a new partnership where we're bringing on a great company that is going to represent us and their local market really well, and we're really excited for the opportunity there both ways. For me, I actually tend to like the last day of the show the most because it's when we as a manufacturer get to deal with and hear from our consumers on the ground that actually have products like our ExoShield ULTRA or our mock PPF installed on their vehicle. And it's a bit of like an ownership opportunity where they're like, if they're not happy with the product, then they get an opportunity to come to us face to face and tell us, why they're not happy. And for us, that's an opportunity to learn and kind of grow. But this year, a lot of the stuff that we heard was validation that, they chose the right product in protecting their vehicle. And one story in particular that I'll just kind of glaze over here is we had a customer come up from, they have a space in Nashville and then a space in Florida. And they had told us that, they had protected their Jeep with ExoShield ULTRA. The DIY kit, they actually took it to a shop, had it done, it was awesome. They had it on for a little while, and then when they left Florida, they left the Jeep there. And the Jeep actually was parked under a relatively thin cover that is aluminum and that kind of thing, where it does the job if there's light rain, but hurricane season in Florida did its number on this, and actually completely collapsed the car park around this Jeep. We have some photos that I'll add to the video afterwards as well. But what he had told me was that because our film was protecting the windshield, it did absolutely take a beating. The structure fell on top of the windshield. Obviously, the winds and everything are still pushing it around, so it's scratching the absolute crap out of the windshield film. But he was able to take that film off, and underneath the glass was still perfect. So
that's awesome.
It was a huge testament to a bit of a weird case for why you want to protect your windshield. But in this instance, he was able to peel this film off. And he actually took it back to a shop that was offering windshield protection film that was not ExoShield. They took the time to let us know that they were less than excited about the product that got put on. So this was an opportunity again for us to double down on our support and basically say, hey, listen, thank you so much for telling us about this story that is wild and hard to believe. Let's make sure that you get the product that you're looking for. So we're going to send them out a kit to replace the one that they had replaced that they're unhappy with from another manufacturer.
Wow, that's a very specific scenario, but it is a good testament to show what ExoShield can actually do to protect your vehicle, even if your entire vehicle can't really be protected by a hurricane.
The PPF, and he didn't mention what PPF he had on there, it wasn't our product, but whatever PPF was on there also did an incredible job protecting the paint.
Nice.
So this person was very proactive in protecting their vehicle, and because they did so, they will get to continue to enjoy their vehicle as they know it, and it's not all scratched up and beat to crap. They just have to replace some pieces of film on it.
Yeah, it's almost like leaving a legacy for it, so that it went through the battering of that storm, but now they can actually continue to enjoy their vehicle. And that's also another good segue into a legacy component. One of the legacy messages that you had in the original blog was we helped create a wave. How did that resonate on the floor with SEMA?
Sure.
Did people, take note to that?
Yeah, so yes and no. As a smaller company in a very big pond right now, especially with windshield protection film growing at the rate it's growing, there's a lot of people that might not find us first, but when they do find us, we kind of validate a lot of the things that they've learned in the past, right? So if someone is coming to us right now, let's say that they've only really experienced TPU film, when they come to us, we kind of talk about, obviously we do have a TPU product called ExoShield Sprint, which is great, but it's not our only product. So a lot of the places that are speaking to them about TPU films are kind of doing an apples to apples comparison with what is available elsewhere, like our GT3 product, to a TPU product, which we know has a lower lifespan. It degrades faster, but there's a great space for that film, right? And what gets missed when that's the only film that's being presented is that not every customer is looking for that style or type of solution. Right, so when we look at the wave that was created, or we try not to take full accountability or full credit for the windshield protection film market, but back in 2021 when we'd only been to SEMA in 2019, and then 2020 was the digital version online. 2021 was the first time that we actually got to go there and present properly as a manufacturer, and we saw maybe 3 other players in the game. Right, it was also not a focus of their product market. That wasn't their bread and butter was not windshield protection film. We were the only ones that were what we like to call windshield protection led, right? And by doing that, there was other companies that were coming up to us going, oh, you guys built an entire business around something that we think is an offshoot of the main product here, which is paint protection film.
Right.
So what we've seen now as it's grown, especially in 2025, is there are tons and tons of manufacturers out there that are now offering a windshield protection solution, right? But because we've been in the game for so long and we've built out our portfolio to have more than one solution, by the time people get to us, we're able to educate them on the full portfolio that we have to offer, what the benefits are for a PET film that is 8 mil versus a PET film that's 5 mil, or a TPU film, that's a 1-year product versus our 3-year flagship product. And we get to kind of redistribute the narrative around the fact that, one product isn't right for everybody, but windshield protection as an idea is right for the vast majority of people,
right.
Especially if you're driving a car that's from 2017 or newer.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's bonkers. And like, it's a really good testament to see that like with the products that you do have, you can still have conversations with other people that it might not be like the best fit for, but then you also have another product that can, match up with what they're looking for specifically and have meaningful conversations. And I think that human connection component like is a huge driving factor. I mean, pun always intended, to make sure that like people like feel safe and can enjoy like what they're going to be doing in their free time or like going to and from work.
Yeah, I mean, long story short, I think one thing that we've kind of built into the way we talk about this is like we don't talk ill about any of our competitors.
Right.
We honestly believe that a rising tide lifts all boats, and that's what we're seeing here now. Is like the prevalence of windshield protection film everywhere has given us an opportunity to really leverage our space as technological leaders, right? We're not just somebody that has seen an opportunity to, make money off of the windshield protection being, a necessity or something that's growing. We continue to innovate solutions that are ideally best for both the end customer and the installer, right? We're not just trying to make a film that is easy for our installers to, slap on windshields, but then the end consumer feels like maybe they were bait and switched or they were oversold a product. We want to make sure that the education is getting out there in a way that's allowing customers to make informed decisions, and not just kind of saying, hey, like your windshield is expensive, so protect it with the thing I have.
Right.
It's not all windshield protection films are created equal. Do your due diligence, do some checking, find a reputable installer, because at the end of the day, the installer is the one who you're interfacing with. They're the ones who the end consumers have to trust and really rely on. And if you find somebody that is offering only one product, it's not to say that that's not the right product, but you want to have the information so that you can ask questions like, what makes this thing that you offer different, better, worse than this other thing that I've heard about?
Right. Is the direction that you're going in with it, like the direction that ExoShield is going in?
Yeah.
I know that like the team is very excited about like what's going to be coming in the next like few years and all that kind of stuff, and like how ExoShield specifically is making sure that they're going to be still in that conversation.
Sure, like how are we staying on the precipice of that technology, right?
Yeah, and like, did you find validation in the wave of competition to see that you're standing out from it?
Yeah, for sure. I think because we've been in the game for as long as we have, what we're seeing is there's a lot of places that are playing catch up.
Yeah.
Right? They're saying, okay, so one thing that we've identified as like a huge hurdle that we have to overcome and that we continue to try to overcome is proper training for working with PET films that are as thick as our GT3 Plus and our Ultra products are. It is a difficult install. Like there's no way around it. PET films, when they get to a certain thickness and they have a ceramic coating on the outside of them, it does make it so that it is a very stiff, rigid film, and it takes a lot of skill to get down. So what I think is happening right now, or what at least we're seeing, is a lot of places are releasing a easy to install film, right? And that technology has come a long way, right, in the TPU space, where before people were just slapping PPF onto glass and saying it's good enough, it's going to do the job, it's going to protect it, but they're going to have a difference in their driving experience because it's pretty distorted and it's going to beat up really fast. Whereas the new TPU technology is optimized for glass. It has more durability to it. It has some self-healing in it that's built to kind of wear through the wipers and work alongside the space that it's installed on. So there's a lot of places that are riding that TPU wave. There's not a lot of places that are optimizing for both sides, which is the installer as well as the end consumer. So our forward thinking has kind of led us to the space where we had to decide how to get PET durability and clarity into the hands of everyone without there being a huge initial investment in time and money to get these guys trained up on a product that is very difficult to train. So one of the reasons that we were so excited about 2025 SEMA was we had the opportunity to do a soft release for our Ultra Pro kits, which are a similar vibe for what we did for direct-to-consumer with our Ultra kits for Bronco and Jeep. But essentially, these are for curved windshields. We'll be covering a pretty wide spectrum of vehicles in the first year. And we will only be selling these to our affiliated shops to make it so that they have the ability to make windshield protection film that is durable, accessible to all. So starting with like Porsche 992s and F-150s and Tesla Model 3s that are notoriously difficult, these are windshields that are now going to be able to be protected essentially anywhere that can install film at a level that is going to give them a 3-year product at an 8 mil thickness, right? So our 3-year product traditionally that would get put on those is 5 mil thickness, which for most instances is perfectly fine. It's 6 times, the likelihood that your windshield will be saved during an impact. So that's how we kind of look at our 6X there is if you have windshield protection film like ExoShield GT3 applied to your windshield is 6 times less likely to succumb to damage from an impact. We test that around 70 mile an hour with a 3/8 steel bead shot at it, and what happens is that steel bead will leave a mark in the film, but the glass underneath it is just as it was on the day you protected. That's a probability game, right? There's always the chance that something large enough with enough velocity and mass can hit that glass and still break it. But we are very confident that with this 8 mil film, you're even less likely to succumb to it. And the reason why 8 mil film has been kind of hard to get on the vast majority of vehicles is because it is a lot of film to shrink. It's very, very difficult. So we've automated the process and we've essentially brought in the ability to integrate windshield protection film to any business at a very high level when it comes to the technology that they're providing.
That's wicked. That's cool. So Ultra Pro, as you mentioned just earlier, how do you see that changing the skill barrier for WPF installation going forward in the future? Is it hard to install? Like, it's not an easy product. Windshield protection film to install properly is an art form when it comes down to it. So could you talk a little bit more about how Ultra Pro could bridge that gap to allow installers to really flourish with it? Or is it going to be one of those things where, they can add it to their inventory and then they can specialize it, but it's still going to take time to increase their revenue potentially?
Well, hopefully what happens with this and what we're trying to kind of drive in is the main thing that ExoShield ULTRA PRO is changing is the ability to integrate windshield protection film into any aftermarket restyling business with speed and without a huge lift in cost and time, right? So one of the things that I've been finding resonates a lot with people is, actually it's a bit twofold, I'll probably ramble a bit here, but basically you have the ability to take somebody who, maybe have been sweeping the floors, your shop hand, let's say, who essentially is just somebody that's costing money, not bringing in revenue. And you can empower them with a product like this to take on a new vertical, right? So you can say, hey, like, listen, we know, you've been doing a great job around the shop. We want to hand something to you. We're going to get you installing these kits, right? The installing of the kits, the hardest part now becomes cleaning, right? And maintaining that cleanliness. And if you're in a shop that has that kind of ethos already built in and it's, everything you're doing is clean. So if you're doing ceramic coatings, if you're doing paint protection film already, those kind of things, this is very easy to bring in and realize profit and revenue quickly. Also, because we're releasing them in stages throughout the years, you'll be able to niche down into these communities like F-150 or Porsche, let's say, and go into them and offer them a consistent price and have consistent expectations in your business. So that, after you do a few of these, let's say cleaning it, installing the product, and letting it cure takes 2 hours total, right? You're actually working on the car for under an hour with the film, but the whole process will take around 2. If you can standardize that and you know that that's what it takes for your windshield protection film business every time, it'll allow you to properly schedule these guys in. It'll allow you to scale your business too, within reason, and understanding, hey, if it just takes me this long, this is how many I can do in a day. And you'll be hitting that number with more accuracy than you would if you were doing bulk, especially at the beginning of your windshield protection film business, right? If you're able to properly book in customers for the right amount of time, you can guarantee the consistent level of installation, and you're also able to make the workflow consistent. That's going to build this into a more real part of the business rather than this kind of fly-by-night, like I'll sell windshield protection film to whoever I can and then hope that I get the windshield done in the same time as I did the last one. Every windshield is different. Every single one has a different level of curvature, and they bring into the install their own complexities. With Ultra Pro and us taking out the shrinking, the cutting, the molding, all you're doing is doing a test fit to make sure that you ordered the right one for the right vehicle. And then essentially you're cleaning it off, you're peeling the liner, and you're sticking it on, squeegeing it down, right? So there's a lot less opportunity for failure and a lot more opportunity for standardization. So I think that that's where they're gonna find the value is, sure, we don't have kits for every single car that's on the road, but do we have enough kits for you to validate that windshield protection film market early and then say, hey, now that I've put some money in my pocket from windshield protection film, maybe I do want to invest in sending someone to training so that we can bulk on every single thing that comes in. While we're releasing kits for more vehicles, it would probably be in your best interest to have a couple people trained up so that anything that comes in you can sell to, because now that you've learned how to install the kits, you've also learned how to sell windshield protection film, right? So if those things have worked with the small cohort that you started with, your sales team is already integrated into the idea that windshield protection film is important. And if you have somebody trained up to be able to do the installs on any vehicle, then you can start selling to every vehicle, right? Obviously, there's going to be some caveats there when it comes to, the standardization that you expected in the first one with the kits, but it's kind of the name of the game. If you want to build and you want to ramp fast, then you're going to have to go to training, or you really niche down into the kits that we have available in that moment and find every single one of those cars that are in your local areas to get this film on.
Nice, yeah. So like when you were at SEMA, Ultra Pro was a product that you were showcasing. How were you demonstrating that to installers and like the general public when it came to the Friday show?
So we had a pre-production piece that was at the show that was for the F-150. And so what we were doing was essentially we had the 8mm piece of film laying on top of the F-150 windshield. And we weren't going through installation. We were really showing fit and function and then kind of talking about these same things. What does it mean for your business to be able to standardize windshield protection in this way? So what was really, I think, the most interesting takeaway for people was feeling the differences in thickness between a 5mm and an 8mm film. Doesn't sound like much, but 60% does change a lot. Like 8mm is 60% thicker than the 5mm there, so you can really feel it. And anyone that's worked with windshield protection film in the past that's had to shrink film immediately understood why we've moved to kits with 8mm film, because they're like, this is awesome, this feels great, this feels like the level of protection people would want to feel. It's hefty, right? It's thick with many C's. But you can't get that down on a Tesla, right? You're not going to hand shrink it on there. So as soon as you feel the opportunity of 8mm film to actually protect windshields, and then you hear about us, pushing this technology to a point where, we've created a system that allows you to integrate windshield protection film in easy, get it down in a consistent way, and then also provide 8mm of protection, which is unheard of in a single layer film, for a full 3-year durability lifespan. It hit home on all the right places where they were looking. Now it's really on us to make sure we get these in their hands and start realizing what this means for the market.
Right. No, that's really cool. And like, so when you were showcasing this to the installers, this is probably going to be like the last question, because I know that we've talked a lot about SEMA and like Ultra Pro and the products that ExoShield has. But when you were showcasing that fit and finish to the installers, what was their reaction? Were they super pumped? Were they like very intrigued? Were they, you know?
There's a bit of a spectrum, actually. So a lot of our installers that have taken the time to be really proficient, they have this like perfection idea in their mind where essentially they want to get this full coverage left to right, top to bottom, where there's no exposed glass, and that's their level of expectation for themselves, which is amazing. Like if that's the level you're going to hold yourself to, all the power to you. Honestly, thank you for representing our product in that way. It's amazing. The thing with Ultra Pro kits is they will have an edge, right? So they're going to be a 1/16 inch gap around the edge so that you can essentially perfect the fitment of it every time and make sure you have that 16th inch gap. The way that we've been kind of talking about that and the opportunity for installers that have the skills to do it edge to edge is these are tiers. These are tiers that you can offer now, right? Where you say, hey, you want an edgeless installation, it's going to be a little bit more expensive because this is why I'm bulking it. You know, it's going to be with this 5 mil film versus the 8 mil film. So you have a conversation that you can go through where somebody goes, well, I don't want to pay $800 to protect this. I'd rather pay $600. Well, that's when you can bring in a kit conversation and say, hey, like, this is what you're trading off, right? For that additional, $200, this is what you're getting. You're getting that full edgeless install. And what we found is in majority of impact cases, the 1/16 inch gap around the outside does not allow enough exposed glass for it to be a higher risk of breaking. The reality is in a lot of situations when an impact will hit on the edge of the glass, regardless of what's protecting it, because it has no flex, it has no give, it's right on the pillar where it's mounted, you're gonna see a break, regardless of what's protecting it. So that 1/16 inch gap is to standardize the expectation of everyone using it, but also to give our guys, like I said, that have the skills to do it in a full edgeless installation, a bit of a leg up on people that are maybe coming in that are only offering kits. Like I said, this is something that can be offered to every shop, right? And if there are shops in town that have been dedicated to ExoShield, that have put the time into work with us to get their skills up to a level where they can offer those edgeless installs, we want to make sure that they're still able to kind of position themselves in a way that gives them leverage over people that are potentially brand new to offering ExoShield, right? While they're building their business, maybe these guys are only offering windshield protection film to those 992 Porsches, and you're doing everything else, right? But just as we believe as a manufacturer that rising tide lifts all boats, it works with local shops as well, where there's more notoriety around windshield protection film. People know it's a solution that exists. They're going to start talking in the local groups. You get enthusiasts that are early adopters that are like, yeah, this is great. You know, I get to rally my car now, and I don't have to worry about the windshield breaking every season like I did before. You get Jeepers, you get Bronco people that are like excited to use their vehicles in very specific ways that they didn't know that there was another option rather than just replacing your windshield, which is, even on a Jeep or Bronco, you're looking at over $1,000 out of pocket if you decide to do it like that. So I think that it's a really interesting opportunity right now and an interesting time in the windshield protection game where we're gonna see a lot of people trying windshield protection film and ideally finding early success with it that is lasting rather than that early success in selling a product that was maybe oversold to you, like some TPU films are, and then you seeing your customer back in 3 to 6 months when the product that you were sold in a certain way did not live up to the hype because of how they were sold that product then.
Yeah, no, that's, yeah. Wow, there's so many layers to it, and I guess I said the last question was the last question, but with 2026 like around the corner, I know that there's been conversations already as far as like, you know, what SEMA is going to look like for you guys and ExoShield as a whole. Is there any like takeaways from 2025 that you're going to be, you know, directly impacted by moving forward to 2026, and like, is there something that you're excited about to implement into the show for ExoShield?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is traumatic to already be thinking about next year's SEMA, to be completely honest with you, when we just got back. Like, I mean, we were on the flight home and we were already talking about what we do different next year, right? And I think, you know, one thing that we took away from even 2024 was live demos are what bring people to the booth, right? It's what keeps people around and what gets them excited and interested. So even more live demos, more live fitment tests for products that we have available that between now and then with the Ultra Pro kits. I mean, we innovate on a less than 1 year basis. So like there's probably something else that's going to happen here that we're like excited to talk about our show. But I think for the most part for me, it's really, we got to get a taller booth because everyone around us in West Hall is now sitting at like the 20-foot height, and we got dwarfed a bit by our little 10-foot booth that, we do pretty well with our space, but it's hard to, compete with that footprint when people are building right up to the ceiling. So that's definitely one thing that I'm going to take away is how do we elevate kind of our space there a little bit, literally elevate it.
Yeah.
And then how do we keep people, really engaged and educated on the differences that ExoShield brings as a tech company in this space, right? Like we're a nanotechnology company at our base level, and the things that we sell are things that we've built. They're things that we believe in, and I think that we're just going to continue to do that throughout this year, and hopefully by the time SEMA comes around, we've had enough time in market with this new product that we can really, dial in the way that we're educating people on how to present the value of it to, their end customers.
No, that's awesome. That's super exciting. Yeah, I mean, SEMA's a monster of a show, and it was a really good conversation to have with you as far as a wrap up is concerned.
Yeah.
So thank you for answering those questions.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what 2026 is going to look like, and from what it sounded like, SEMA 2025 was a really successful show for ExoShield, and being in the forefront of innovation and nanotechnology from a windshield protection film standpoint is very exciting from like the base level, and then when you get into like the layers of it and like what that can actually mean for people in the automotive industry and the enthusiasts, I think it's a really good insight to see how ExoShield is actually moving about and looking at windshield protection film, and it's something that is surprisingly and not surprisingly can be like very exciting to talk about. So
honestly, one thing we say mostly to Jeepers, because they're the ones that kind of coined this, is like, we're just trying to keep people out of the Broken Windshield Club. Like yeah. I'm revoking as many memberships as possible, and that's the goal moving forward, is to take this outside of the people that know they need it and continue to educate people before they kind of feel that pain point of replacing a very expensive windshield, that there's something out there that exists that could have kind of helped you avoid this very annoying and costly process of replacing windshields.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. If you guys are going to get tickets to SEMA 2026, you better count on ExoShield being there. Thanks again for sitting down with us.
Appreciate that. Yeah,
no worries.
We'll see you at SEMA next year.
Woohoo!